Right back to get you on the right side, not the wrong side. It's the Boss and the Sauce Show. And we got my man Wham OG rolling with us today. And we're going over the Mid-American Conference College Football Preview 2019 right now. Oh yeah, the Boss and the Sauce Show right back at you. Mid-American Conference 2019 Preview. And I got all the fellas in the house tonight. We're giving you extra with my man OG Wham in the house. And you know the BigRagoo is in the house. BigRagoo, let the people know what's up.
Welcome OG in with us tonight. Hey Wham, thanks for coming in. We're going to have a great time. I know that for a fact. And Wham's going to do his thing. You're going to do yours. I'm going to do mine.
That's what it is right there. Right. Anything you want to tell these people before we go on this wonderful ride right here, Wham?
Hey, the boss is with the sauce. Join us.
It's going down right now, y'all. Right back at you, the Boss and the Sauce Show. I am DJ BigBoss. And please do me a favor. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notify, tell a friend, like, or whatever, the Boss and the Sauce Show, because we will keep this constant content coming to you. Now, we draw Ball State right here in the MAC conference right here. Now, Ball State was 4-8 last year, 3-5 in the conference, and this year's a little bit different for them. Coach gets back 7 on offense, 8 on defense, so he's looking pretty tight. And but he's being led by a junior quarterback this year. So the quarterback spot right here is going to be something they're going to have to get a handle of, quick, fast, and in a hurry. And they also draw a decent schedule on this one. Some of the out-of-conference game include FAU, NC State. They also play Indiana of Indianapolis and Fordham. So they definitely trying to make it back past those 4 wins from last season. Looking at the schedule right here, I can see about 3 or 4 just by glance. But let me go into a quote right here by the offensive coordinator, Joey Lynch, on the quarterback, Drew Pitt, which is the junior right here. He says he has all the intangible stuff, and besides that, he can make all of the throws. He really knows offense. He's a true field general. Now, leadership is something that I really like in football. And if this guy comes and lays a little bit of leadership on the table in this one, I think this team definitely gets past this 4-8 from last year. What you think about that, BigRagoo?
This team had nothing but troubles out of the gate, not with play, but with injuries. They went through 3 quarterbacks last year, and Drew Pitt was the guy that was he was actually the backup and got a little playing time and did really well, and until he got hurt, and he's coming back this year, and he had good numbers last year. I mean, he was still a 1,000-yard passer last season with a 65% completion rate. So and this team was number 1 in the pass in conference. So I think this team kind of drew on some bad luck. And even though they did wind up with a 4-8 season, I think they're a lot better than their the win-loss column says. Their weakness, if they have, they're going to be a little bit weaker on the defensive side of the ball. This year they changed to a 3-4 defense, or they changed to a 3-4 defense. They were 9th overall defense, 11th against the run. They were giving up 44. When they went to the 3-4 defense, before that they were allowing 41 points a game, and when they within the first 6 games they went to 24 points a game, and then they got bit with the injury bug on defense also, and they started giving up 44 points a game the last 5 games of the season. So, like I say, injuries on both sides of the ball, some tough breaks with quarterback, tough breaks on defense, and if this team can stay healthy, I think they're going to surprise a lot of people in the tough MAC division. What do you think about them, Wham?
What I've been looking at with Ball State is that they have some sort of phrase that they're going on with this year. It's called "out the mud." So basically, what that means is that they grinding it out to get the success that they need, grabbing it out of the mud. So that's something that draws some type of intrigue. But when you go deeper into the layers, it seems like they're kind of desperate because they actually had to do some sort of drawing and see what type of phrase they wanted to do in the first place as far as the coaching staff. This could be one of those coaches that could be in a bad spot. I think he's in his Mike New is in his fourth year. This is one of those transitional years, make or break. Let's see what you could do type of thing. And he's already switching Mike Dunner to wide receiver. I just looked up and confirmed one of the reports that I read earlier today. They're switching him to wide receiver. They're looking maybe a little desperate. So it could be up and down. They don't have that much of a tough schedule like some of the other ones. They have Fordham, Florida Atlantic, NC State on the road. NC State on the road. They're going to probably lose that game. But the Northern Illinois Northern Illinois, they're that possibly could be a win for them. I could see something like they could get some type of momentum later on down in the season inside of the MAC, like you said, Big Ragu. So I don't want to chalk them up as a loss just of yet in the MAC, but this is one of those teams that they could definitely go shits really quick.
Well, yeah, I absolutely like him right here, man. Only real downfall that we have is on defense. Defense last year was a boat with six holes in it that allowed 450 yards per game. So defense wins games, and that applies to Ball State as well. So we definitely have to see some success on the defensive side of the thing. I kind of trust in them on definitely getting some offensive going over here in the MAC, but we yet to see what they're gonna do on defense in this one. But any last words on this one, any of y'all?
Yeah, just like Wham was saying, the coach, 4-8 last year in 3 seasons. He's 10-26, so he's definitely going to be in the hot seat. So I'm hoping for his sake that he at least finishes up with a 500 season. This way, he kind of stay afloat and maybe catch a little bowl game. Because these kids, they get out there, they play hard week in, week out, and you want them to have a little fun at the same time too. So just for the kids' sake and the coach's sake, let's cheer them on for at least a 6-win season. What you think?
That's right. That's right. I feel the same way. A lot of these kids are coming back as well, like you said. So, you want to see these kids go out like with a bang. I think they have a homecoming game against Toledo. So we can check in and see what they're going to do on that game. That might be a game that they could do pretty good. It might be a Tuesday game too, so we might want the over on that one. So, you never know.
I don't know, man. Six might be pushing it. Five looks more promising, but we'll have to see what goes on. FAU, I'm sure they'll be out to try to get them. They can count the NC State probably as a loss, but Fordham and the Indiana game, that's two. They see Kent State, that's three. They see Central Michigan, that's a possible four. I don't know. They could climb up into the five rank. I don't know about six, but the jury's still out on that one. We have to see if the ship hands can plug these holes in the ship on this Ball State team. But that's it right there on the Boss and the Sauce show. Let's get into the next squad.
Hey, let's take a trip to Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant, that is, for Jim McElwain and the Central Michigan Chippewas. A 1-11 season last year. Now, I'm not going to throw Jim McElwain under the bus because that 1-11 is not on his watch. He gets to take over this team for his first year. McElwain, former Colorado State head coach, former Alabama offensive coordinator, former Gator head coach, untimely exit for him. So, anyways, he's going to come to this school and try to generate a little bit of offense here. And they do have some issues. He gets a first year, or not a first year, he gets a graduate transfer quarterback, Quentin Dormaday from University of Tennessee. The run game has been pretty horrible. Last year they averaged less than 3 yards a carry, and the total offense is just averaging paltry 225 yards per game, and that's dead last in the conference. So now check this out. They list on the roster 14, that's right, 14 wide receivers, right? So you think they're trying to generate a little offense here? So I look for them to use the graduate transfers from Virginia Tech, and they're probably going to get a little improvement on the offensive line here also. But anyways, we'll see what this they can do with this offense. Defensively speaking, they lose their top two defensive players, and they're going to need a little bit of help on both sides of the ball. Wham! What do you know about this program?
I mean, just like you're saying, man, with this Jim McAdoo, McAdane, I can't say his name either, man. It's been a lot of drinks lately, but I know for a fact that this guy going in his first year, he doesn't have that much of expectations looking into this game. Their schedule isn't that easy. You know what I mean? Because they have Albany, which is a cool game to start off with, but from there on, they have a little bit more of a rough schedule with Wisconsin, Miami, West Virginia, Western Michigan, and also Akron in the first 5 games. They have Albany in there, so I mean, I don't think it's that much of a difference. But they did lose 2 DBs and from the to the NFL. And if you look at their record, they're 1-11 with those 2 DBs. So that just goes to show exactly what type of talent they had, and they still pissed the damn season away. So I don't think there's going to be that much of a expectation going forward. But they do have a lot of returning people coming back. They have a lot of starters coming back on offense. That could make some difference here, but I don't know. I don't think this team is going to be that good. They're going to be at the lower and total pole of the MAC. They don't really have that much of a easy schedule rather than later on towards the end of their
Well, the way I feel about the Mac, the way it goes around there when they down, kick them because they went to they were 1-11 last year, 0-8 in the conference, and what did they draw? Wisconsin at Wisconsin September 7th, Miami at Miami September 21st, and then they get to end the season with Toledo. So is adding insult to injury with the schedule like that. Here we got a new coach coming in. He has his hands full with these players. The defense, I mean, the whole formula last year was upside down. The defense gave up 27.3 points a game, and the offense scored 15 points a game. I don't even know how they got the one win against Maine. What was it? 17-5. That was a weird game right there. But don't expect much out of a bottom tier team right here in the MAC. But I'll share a little quote right here from the Lindley magazine from Coach Jim. He says they're hungry. That's fun. It's good when you have a group that's like that, that's willing to invest every day, do what they need in order to get there a little bit better. Man, these guys trying to keep them scholarships, man. They doing just above. They C-level students over here. But they in the MAC. They got plenty of opportunity to do big things. They play some tough teams that could make them tough. But like my man BigRagoo say, I'm gonna keep my money in my pocket on this one. Any last words on this team, y'all?
Yeah, just a couple little quotes or a couple little comments. Because I know McAway pretty good because he's right up the street from me with the Gators, and he was in the media a lot. And he's a fun guy to listen to, really is. So I can see him going up there having fun with these kids, and like he said, he's in the D League right now, so to speak, from where he came from. So he's got nowhere to go but up. So this is kind of his last hurrah. So if he doesn't make something go right here, he's probably going to be working in the janitor room somewhere or fishing in one of the lakes in Lake Michigan up that way. But anyways, I like to see this team maybe shoot for like 3 wins. Nothing real high. Don't set your bar too high early in the season. Just maybe get 3 wins, and then you build on that going forward. What you guys think?
Nah, you're right. You're right, Big Ragu. Right now, he in the G League. He out there trying to climb his way back up to see if he can get back to one of the Power Five conference teams. But right now, you stuck at Central Michigan, brother. Keep it chucking.
Hey, I'm trying to put the 3 wins together. I see Albany. That's a potential one. They don't get to play Kent State, but they do play. It's not even the team on here I could really say that they could just beat like that. So I'm looking at Kent State on this one. Maybe playing Wisconsin and Miami makes them a little tough, and they upset somebody else. But maybe at most
New Me-
3 wins for the season. At most 2 wins in the conference.
yeah, that's a good look.
Well, y'all,
What do you say?
That's it for me.
I like that.
Y'all heard it first right here on the Boss and the Sauce Show. We gonna keep this thing rolling with the Mid American Conference College Football 2019 breakdown right here on Central Michigan. Next, here we go. Eastern Michigan Eagles right here in the MAC Conference Preview 2019. Let's take a look at Eastern Michigan. Now, last year they went 7-6. They were 5-3 in conference. Old school coach right here receives 5 on offense, 3 on defense. Your guards got to be down when you get 3 back on defense, but this team does return a nice running back, a wide receiver on offense, and a few linemen. And then on defense, the 3 returners on defense all come in the secondary, which can be helpful, but not in this conference right here. Because in this conference, you have a lot of teams that do really well on the ground. So they're going to have to bring in some beef on the defensive side of the field in order to put a hole on this 203 yards rushing they're giving up each game right here. So this team right here got a lot to work on the defense side of the ball. I give them a little faith on the offensive side, keeping it together, being able to score points. Definitely a team that you want to look at the over with. Last year they had quite a few overtime games they played, which they lost as well. But this year they draw Kentucky, Coastal Carolina, and also Illinois out of conference, which should be a challenge there at Coastal Carolina, at Kentucky, and also at Illinois. But they do get to end the season with Kent State, but they also do have to play Toledo this season as well. So this team got their work cut out for them right here. 7-6 might be the same thing they're gonna get out of this season, just like last season. What y'all think about that?
What I think about it, I think a lot about it, man. All right, let's start out with the coach, Chris Creighton. 158-86, 22 years at the helm. Not all at Eastern Michigan, but an old school coach, like you say, that likes to play a nice style of football. Now, he does have a few issues on the offense. Nothing fancy going on there. They're ranked like right in the middle of the pack in conference, averaging about 27 points per game. But now they hand over the reins to senior quarterback Mike Glass and running back Sean Vaughn. They got 2 senior running backs, and they got the senior quarterback. So that's a good look there. And they're averaging about 12 yards per catch. Now, you talk about the defense is a little weak. Well, I'm looking at the glass half full on this one. The reason being because they are ranked number 1 in conference against the pass, and they're ranked number 1 against total points, 22. So they're holding their end up on the defensive side of the ball. So if they could just work on that rushing game just a little bit, I mean they're 8th in the conference, which is like 3/4 of the way down. But here's a surprising fact: nationally, they were ranked number 3 against the pass. I bet nobody knew that one, huh? So what does it equal? I mean, it's not equal to wins and losses because they figured up 7-6, which is still on the winning side of the ball, and they did appear in a bowl game. So that being said, I'm going to turn it over to my man, Wham. What do you think about this squad, Wham?
And that's when I go right back to it as well with this game. Like, this is one of those times you go right back to coaching. Coaching is really fundamental here. Old school coach, Chris Creighton. I like what he brings to the table. He's been playing pretty good. He's possibly on his way up. We were just talking about how Central Michigan coach got put down into the G League. My man Chris Creighton is on his way out of the G League. He's like moving his way up out of the G League type of situation here. And he just needs his young defense to step up, in my opinion. I think he needs his young defense to step up just a little bit more. If he has that, he can keep I like the quarterback Glass. He's not one of the top sharpest, quarterbacks in the MAC. You know what I mean? There's better quarterbacks out there, but I feel like he's one of those quarterbacks that could bring you to a good game, and with the right coach, which he has, it could possibly do some wonders for him. And they were 8-5 last year as far as ATS against the spread. They were a really good bet in certain spots. I would look for that, the same thing that happened this year. And plus, last year I think they were 4-1 ATS in non-conference. another one of those good non-conference MAC teams. So you keep your eye out on this team, the Eastern Michigan Hawks. I mean Eagles. I'm sorry, I say Hawks, but shout out to the Eagles in Philadelphia.
But this team right here, last year they did beat Purdue at Purdue. They beat Monmouth out of conference play, and they also took San Diego State to overtime for a 20-23 loss. But all these games they had were in double digits, so we know the offense is totally rolling right here, no doubts about it. And it's all going to be light in the hands of the defense. We know how the game works. The defense has to keep the offense on the field by shutting the other team down and bringing them out. If they do that, they're able to score plenty of points and have a chance at winning the game. When the defense doesn't play well, let's see what that looks like. 28-35 lost to Buffalo. What else we got? 22-37 lost to Army. But when the system is working correct, they do good. They beat Toledo last year, 28-26. They beat Ball State 42-20. So it's kind of an up and down thing. Once again, on those Wednesdays and Thursdays night, when you're getting ready to go ahead and try a little something, think about what we're saying today on the show. Put that in effect, and stay tuned to the Boss and the Sauce show, because we will be having picks weekly coming from you, from myself, BigRagoo, and my man Wham OG will be stepping in sometime to lay out some picks right here on the Boss and the Sauce show. Y'all got any last words, or should we jump right into the next one?
Let's go to the next one.
There it is
To
then.
the next.
Let's go, y'all. Northern Illinois Huskies right here in the MAC Conference College Football Preview 2019. Let's get it popping. Now, last year they went 8-6, 6-2 in the conference. Not shabby at all. And they get a first-year coach right here, Thomas Hammock, and he gets back 5 on offense, 6 on defense, which is not too bad. He got his hands full right here. He gets back a quarterback, wide receiver, left guard, and also a right tackle on offense. On defense, he gets a group of linebackers, a nose guard, and also 2 safeties. So he's pretty much covered on every level of the field. This is some of these first-year coaches outside looking in, looking at the tape, all that kind of stuff. They step right in here. They do a really good job their first year coming out. I think this guy may be able to go back to 8 wins for this team. Maybe in his first year. Second year, he may take a little time to regress and regroup his thing, because he's going to be heavily recruiting and more stuff like that. But this team draws a fairly decent schedule. Outside the conference, they see Utah, Illinois State, Nebraska, Vanderbilt. And in the conference, they also have to see at Ohio, at Toledo, at Miami, just to say the least right there. But this team is coming off a basically kind of balanced season from last year, but it was a little upside down. They averaged 20 points a game on offense, and they gave up 22-point game on defense. They have to slow down some of the passing, and maybe these returning safeties could help them out in the passing game right here, get a couple wins, or at least get back to that 8-6 plus a bowl game. What you guys think about this one, Wham?
Yeah, I'm really looking into NYU to come off of a great MAC championship, going into this year maybe on a downhill. The reason being is because they're coming in with a running back coach from the NFL. He was a running back coach for the Baltimore Ravens, and Tom Hammerich. And if you look at him, he's going to be paired up with Trey Harbison, which is a pretty good running back. So he should have a good upside year. But you look at as far as like what they're already trying to do as far as the running back, I mean the quarterback situation, I feel like they're already causing some sort of commotion and within the offense. I don't think they're really thinking everything through. They're having a quarterback competition with Ross Bowers. Right now, Childer's already won the job. He already has a cohesion with a lot of the receivers, and he's more of the dual threat type of quarterback, which is Bowers. I believe and he has a pretty good arm. He's inaccurate at sometimes, but he makes the right throw at the right time. One of those typical gunslinger type of players. But I actually looking at this schedule. They go against Utah at Utah. You guys know exactly how that looks as far as the elevation with those type of games, and then they go back to back at Nebraska, another top five. I mean, Power Five conference foe, and they're one of the teams that's not that good. I would believe as far as against the spread against non-conference teams. I didn't really look at it, but I want to say that's what I remember. But as far as this Northern Illinois team, I think they're going to have a down year. This is a first-year coach. They already got the MAC championship. They might be fed, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm gonna
Go ahead, BigRagoo.
go ahead. No, I was gonna say when he was talking about the down year. I'm just going to touch on the defense a little bit because you guys covered most of the stuff offensively and some of the defense. But one of the key components to the defense, I mean, they did win the MAC championship last year, and they were built pretty solid on defense. Matter of fact, they were number one against the run and number two overall in the conference. But they lose two All-Americans this year to the NFL in the draft, which they usually produce some pretty good guys on the defensive side of the ball, and they run a solid 4-3 front, and they're anchored by a couple of seniors at safety and a little young at the corner. So, I mean, they have some question marks there because they were 10th versus the pass, and overall, they still have this team projected to finish up pretty well near the top. But like Wham says, I got to agree with him there. I think they're going to finish towards, somewhere toward, south of the top.
I'm
Go ahead,
I'm a little
DJ.
more optimistic for this team right here. I'll take a quote out the Lindley magazine right here. This is running back Marcus Jones, who's going to be leading the rushing next year. He says, quite frankly, it's the most I've learned in the 4 years I've been here. It's probably the hardest I've been coached ever. Maybe this school has reached a plateau on the type of coaching that they bringing in here, and maybe this guy does a good job in this first year right here. Like I said, I could see him getting back to 8 wins or so this season. I'm totally optimistic of that.
I think you're right. I think you're right, Big Ragu. I think you're right as well, boss. Especially Ragu when you touch on their defense last year, they were actually one of those good teams to bet the under on. They're 5-9 for the under, hitting 64%, and a lot of that happened earlier in the season, and the market adjusted to them. That's what really ended up happening. I remember from us,
Yeah.
capping these games together. So I remember that. And as far as NIU, they probably could translate that same back on defense. I didn't really look into their defensive scheme because I seen there was so much going on offense that's going to fracture their team. I think their offense is going to really hinder them. That's what I think led to them, playing pretty well last year, is that they was able to score. I don't think that's going to happen this year. So they may be a good under team again.
I,
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. You talk about a team that's coming off a championship season. We'll touch on it a little bit, then we'll move on to the next team. But they come off a championship year, right? And they got a first year coach. So that's kind of a weird look right there. So that tells you that the coach moved on. That was the head of the coach. He earned his position to move on to the A League or up and
Right.
at him a little bit. So and then the question marks on the defense. They got a new defensive coordinator, but they retain some of the same talent. So overall, there's a lot of question marks going on this team. So just in that alone, they could hold it together, like DJ's thinking and like you're thinking a little bit. But for me, I'm just thinking that they're going to be a step behind this year just because of the new implementations of the program. Not to say talent wise, but just maybe the new coach's scheme of doing things.
well, we all know that college football is a game of the system, not always the players. But in this spot right here, these players are pretty talented. Returning champs right here. Maybe they just a little better than the people that they play against in the conference. They went what is that, 6-2 last year in the conference. So I don't know. I'm gonna give them another 6 wins in the conference, 2 wins out the conference. Let them get 8. But that's just me. That's it right here on the Boss and the Sauce show. Is that it for us, fellas, on Northern Illinois?
Yeah, I'm good.
There it is there.
Yes, sir.
So we out of here. Off to the next.
Holy Toledo, baby. We're back in the MAC again at the top of the West. Toledo, 7-6 last year. Jason Candle is the head coach. He's coming back. This is what his third year. He's going back for 4 years now. Anyways,
Yeah.
six returning starters on offense, five on defense. Now last year, this team they went to they went 0-4, not last year as a whole, but this team wins every year. But when they get to the bowl game, they can't win the big game. So they're 0-4 in bowls under Jason Candle as a head coach. But they got to the bowl by or they got beat by FIU 32-35 last year in that bowl game. So quality team every year they show up. They got the number one rated offense and scoring points. They're averaging over 40 points a game. This team, man, crazy. And last year they scored 50 points 6 times. 6 times last year, 50 points. Now they bring back quarterback senior Michael Quadigny. Wow, what a name that is. And he's going to take over this year as a senior. He's going to be full time. He split duty last year with a QBR of 162. Solid look there. And rushing, they ranked number 2 in the MAC and number 25 overall in FBS. So it's strong numbers for this team. And I think offensively, they're ranked number 9 nationally in the FBS overall scoring. And real good looks on offense. Wham, what do you know about this team, Toledo?
Over, 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 over. That's what I know about this team, Big Ragu. And the only thing that sticks out to me the most is the non-conference. One of the things you're gonna hear me talk about with Toledo a lot. The non-conference for Toledo, 5-0 on the over on non-conference last year. Last year they were 9-4 to the over, and we all seen it. They were pretty good at home as well. Their home ATS record was 4-2. So I looked at them to be one of those teams that we see late in the season. Tuesday, we don't really know what we're going to bet. It's the NBA. It's some crazy games getting cost up on the East Coast flights, all this crap. But then we're going to be sure to bet the over on Toledo, or at least parlay it to the over to Toledo. So we're going to at least have that trend next year. So that's one of the things I always drink on. But Big Boss, you got the sauce as well. What's happening with you,
Well,
bro?
I like this Toledo team. Like I love the Mac. When you said over, 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 just ring the bell right here. But I like the position of the squad right here with this coach going into his fourth year with a senior quarterback to lead the squad. They were averaging 40 points last year on offense, but the key's going to still remain on the defensive side of the ball. They were giving up 432 yards of offense, 255 of that in the air, 177 on the ground, giving up 30 points a game. That's just horrible numbers for defense. They got to get that defense thing together. And this year's schedule maybe about the same as last year. First 4 out of conference game at Kentucky, Murray State, Colorado State, BYU. I see a loss at Kentucky, a win at Murray State, uh, Colorado State maybe a win as well. And if they get past Colorado State, they lose to BYU. So they're going to come out of non-conference once again 2-2 and head into the conference. And all they have to do is win another 5 games to get back to 7. So let's look at the 5 right there. You got Kent State, Ball State on the map, Bowling Green. They do have to see Eastern Michigan, Illinois, but then they get Buffalo and Central Michigan last. They could hit the 8 mark with that schedule right there, but I definitely see them coming back with another 7 wins. I definitely see them coming back being an over team again this year, and I'm looking to, on them Wednesdays to lay a little something on Toledo on the over, or at least to cover a big spread.
Yeah, I think you hit the note right on the note with the defense, my man. They were dead last in conference versus the past for sure, and they had a lot of. They bring back a little more experience on the defensive line, maybe to kind of slow things down a little bit, maybe bring a little pass rush, maybe try to bring it back. But like OG Wham was saying, with all those crazy numbers, I mean, they basically have to outscore the other team to beat them, and they did that quite often last year. So the overs were in full effect last year, and unless they kind of stop the holes in the boat, like my man likes to say, look for more of that to happen this year. What you think, Wham?
That's the truth. That's it right there. And like you said, with the defense being trash, It could help him out later on, and some, don't go way crazy on all the overs. But the first one with Kentucky, that sound like an over. Right when Boss said they going at Kentucky first game, that sound like an over. I don't think the market gonna catch up that quick. They ain't gonna be on it that fast. But later on down the line, we might have to slow down on the overs, maybe hit an under, maybe tease up some money or something. You never know. But for the most part, you got to look at that over first, especially when you're coming in with an edge, and that's one of the edges that you take with Toledo. And you guys know, if it ain't broke, can't fix it.
There it is there. You heard it first right here on the Boss and the Sauce Show. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, tell a friend, and stay tuned for our next episode of the Boss and the Sauce. We out. Whoa, look out. Western Michigan Broncos right here in the MAC conference. Let's get into the preview on this team. Now, coming off a 7-6 season, 5-3 in the conference. Here you go, a third-year coach right back at the top spot right here. He's getting 7 on offense, 7 on defense. Have it your way like Burger King right here. This year, he gets back quarterback, running back, wide receiver trio. He also has a nice tight end in there, which the tight end game in the MAC is kind of so-so. He may be able to step over, popping that ball over the middle to the tight end sometime in this MAC. And that's how they score a lot of points. This team last year, they averaged 32 points a game, 237 in the air, 199 on the ground. Very offensive impacted team. This dude's going to take them back again with a seasoned quarterback right here. Looking all good for the Western Michigan Broncos this year, if you ask me. I kind of like the look right here. They bring in a top newcomer, defensive line, Will McCabe. McCabe got the taste of action last season, including the bowl game against BYU. So here we go. And this is a big thing we need to talk about a little further on in the season here about all these players with the new rule now. You can get a little experience the year ahead, and then you can still keep your status and come out the next year. Now, that could be working in a lot of ways because you're going to have a lot of true freshmen and stuff that's sitting on the bench just edging to get in the game just to get a little experience, and they might do well. Who knows? But that's a variable that we like in the sports betting world right here. I like that. So this team right here, I think they have a promising thing on offense. Going to definitely have to plug some holes on defense to make it happen. But they draw a tough schedule right here. Out of conference, they're playing Monmouth at Michigan State, Georgia State at Syracuse. In conference, they still have to play Toledo, Miami, Ohio, and Northern Illinois. They got about 3 or 4 for sure games in the conference, and maybe 2 or 3 of the outside the conference game, and probably be looking at another 7-6 season. And next year will be the year when the coach finally gets all his true recruits in. He's going to get some seasoned players, and they may do a lot better in 2020 than 2019. But what's your take on that, Wham?
Yeah, man, I'm feeling the same way. I feel like their schedule though is some teams that they actually can beat though. I feel like they're enough equipped to beat this team. Tim Lester is not that bad of a coach. He could get the job done in this case, and they do have enough coming back on offense and defense in order to be able to execute and beat certain teams like a Syracuse rather. I feel like they can possibly win that game, but that's one of those games that can end or break their season. In this case, they all have pretty cupcake games at home though. They have all cupcake games at home, in my opinion. All their road games is what's going to make or break, in my opinion. So I feel like if they can win some of these road games, they'll be able to take the West by storm and possibly come out and win the West.
I like that.
Yeah, Wham. Yep, I agree with Wham. I think the problem, not a problem, but the difficulty of this team schedule is probably going to be the only thing that's going to hold them back from maybe taking the West division of the MAC. They do employ a pretty good offense. They do have the one of the top scoring offense. It ranks 4th overall and they got really good receivers. They got senior quarterback. They got good running backs. The Achilles heel to this team though is their defense, kind of like Toledo, but not as bad. They uh, they do lead. They have a guy named Ali Farrard who leads the team in sacks, like 6.5 sacks, and he's like the leader in the conference. They do have room for improvement overall, and going forward, the schedule, like I say, it might be the toughest hurdle for this team to overcome. What do you think,
Yeah.
Wham?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's just all really backed up on the road games, and all their road games. That's when their toughest competition is, and it's hard to beat tough competition on their home turf. But if you can't change that, they're 2 games away from winning those 2 games on the road to being a really good team. So I feel like if they win those 2 games on the road, especially a couple of those one of those non-conference games, it'll be really good for them for the next couple of years. So we'll be able to know by week 5 if they're going to have that much of a great season from what they already did in by week 5. What do you think, boss?
Hey, I'm gonna tell you off top. At Michigan State, forget about it. At Syracuse, forget about it. Especially with the Qs. The Qs not playing over there on the turf. Not this year. Not next year. Not none of the years. So the schedule will hinder them in that, but it maybe make them tougher in the long run, so they can compete against Toledo and who else they have to see? Ohio and Northern Illinois. That kind of those type of early games can build that type of toughness that you can get through some of those conference game. Increase in the conference record by 1 or 2, it looks great for them overall, and I definitely see them making it back to a bowl game this year. 7-6 is nice, but if they get a little tough, they may get 8 or 9 wins. I don't know, but I kind of like what they're doing over there. I love third-year coaches, fourth-year coaches that really got they knee deep into the team right there, and they pulling out some of their best stuff, or they just bombs in the way. But this team falls right in the category with Toledo as far as the overs. I'm liking the overs in this team. If you look at the totals from last year, at Miami, Ohio, 40-39, Georgia State, 34-15, Delaware State, 68-0, Syracuse, 42-55. I mean, this kind of stuff we like in the MAC.
Damn.
We want to get those points in there. So definitely high-powered offensive team who lets the defense hang around a little bit. The defense can step up, play a little better, tighten up the game. I think they were giving up, 34 points a game, but only 386 yards. That's not that bad. But they definitely have to come down on the points a game part of it. But the total offense, the total yards they giving up on defense at 386 is not bad. It's actually ranked 57th in all of college football. But defense it's just like a lot of teams in the MAC. Defense holds the key to success. This team looks past defense and goes straight into scoring the ball. If they take a little time and address those defensive issues, they may have something going on over here. I like this team. I like their toughness. I like their presence on the field, and we'll be keeping an eye out on this Western Michigan team. Any other words on this one?
Yeah.
No, I
Just
like the way you. My fault, Big
go
Brother. I
ahead.
like the
We
way you
got the
broke down
delay.
those over and unders. Yeah, that over for the conference games for Western Michigan is at 6-2. They hit the over 75%, my G, and also as an underdog, they're 4-1. So that's a real good look. And if you see them as an underdog at home, that over is 3-0. So I mean that's probably a small sample size, but a lot of those other ones for the conference games, when they're playing the MAC, those games probably do go over. Like we look at Toledo, like you said, boss. That's a good look, man. I appreciate that, bro.
That's what's up. Any last words, Big Ragu?
Yeah, this league to me sets kind of like a junior version of the Big 12 because they got some teams that can play defense, but the majority of offensive ridden teams that like to go out and air it out. And in this case, maybe not so much airing it, but just creating a lot of plays with their feet and quarterback play. So, 2 words for you combined into one: Mac action, baby.
There you go. There You heard it first right here on the Boss and the Sauce. That's going to sum it up for us on the Mid American Conference College Football 2019 preview right here on the Boss and the Sauce show. Let's go ahead. Y'all ready to wrap this thing up? Let's get into the wrap up show. Hey! The plane has landed, y'all. Let us land. We're going to go ahead and wrap up this Mid-American Conference College Football 2019. It's been fun, fellas. How you guys feeling?
Man, I feel amazing. I appreciate you guys for allowing me to be on here. It just feel honored. Boston and Salt Show, you guys are doing a wonderful job. We crushing these conference. I'm definitely going to save and bookmark everything. I definitely recommend you guys hit the save on your YouTube, especially if you subscribe to the channel. You want to make sure you save it because when you come back to it on that week, you don't know if you should bet the under on Toledo or not. You need to understand these things. So keep it locked in. DJ Big Boss, BigRagoo, I appreciate you guys. Ragu, close this out, man. Let's get this knocked out.
Hey, listen, it was a pleasure having you on, and so much information you brought to the table has been outstanding. So I'm glad you got to chop it up with us. We're glad to have you, and we're going to make it happen again. So you ain't going nowhere fast. You stay right where you're at. And we're going to get into these to the top two teams in each side of the conference. My man DJ is going to bring it on to us. So DJ, go ahead and kick it
Okay,
off.
I'm going to jump right into the West Conference right here, and I'm going to go with my top two. It's pretty simple on this one. I already told you I like Toledo a lot in this one, and I like them at the number one spot. Phil still happens to agree with me on this one. But in the number two spot, I'm gonna go with Northern Illinois, the return champ, to fall just a little short
Wow.
and take them in the number two spot over here on the West. Now on the East, um, they already got it lined up again. They got Ohio number one. I like that look right there. Maybe this is one of those conferences that Phil Steele is right on point with. So I like Ohio right there at the top spot. But I'd like to see Buffalo come in above Miami in this one. So in the three in the top spot we got Ohio. Number two we got Buffalo, and I'll take them kind of as a tie because I'm gonna also mention Miami, Ohio to tie the number two spot right there with Buffalo. How about you, Big Ragu?
Yeah, I'm going to start on the east side too. I think Ohio is a no-brainer as far as that goes. Way too much talent, coaching wise, and all across the ball both sides. And I'm going to I'm going to kind of get off of Buffalo a little bit this year because I think they'll probably have a down year, even though they're a great coach team. Maybe talent it's going to be a little lacking due to NFL drafts and prospects and whatnot. And I think Miami did underperform a little bit, and I think Buffalo overperformed. So even though they had that great season, Buffalo, I'm going to take Miami Redhawks to kind of slide up into the number two spot that side. And then on the other side, I'm going to hit the 1-2 combination again, like you did. I'm going to go with, well, no, not like you did. I'm going to go Toledo on top, and I'm gonna put my faith in Western Michigan because I think there's too much talent there for them to kind of default and drop down to number three. I think their schedule is a little tough, but I think they kind of muster enough W's to kind of maybe slide up a 8-4 or 7-5 ahead of Northern Illinois.
How about you,
Hey
Wham?
man, I feel like I'm gonna go start with the West since I agree with Big Ragu. I feel like the scoring is gonna be intimate, and they're gonna be scoring the West out of the bunches. The West is gonna have a tough year this year. NIU, I don't feel like they're gonna have the same structure and the same type of program that they did last year with the new coach coming in. That's a running back coach. We'll see how Trey Haverson does, if I'm saying his name correctly, but he's supposed to do good. Let's see how NIU does. I don't feel I have faith in them. Western Michigan, they're over team. They're pretty good against the spread as well. I'm going to go that way. I'm going to go with Toledo as well. I like those both to be kind of a toss up. If you see Western Michigan's schedule, they have a tough road schedule. If they win two of those road games, you know what I mean? They're pretty much having a really good season. I feel like they could beat out Toledo for the top. in the West. And going back to the East, we both are, I think all three of us agree that Ohio probably will win the MAC championship this year. Nathan Rook is just one of the best quarterbacks in this league. He's a dual threat. He has everything. He checks off every box. You know, he's a prototypical quarterback. I like everything that he does. And as far as Buffalo, I think Buffalo might just take a slight bit back. They might not take the full dip back. I'm not as high on Miami like Big Ragu is, but as far as Buffalo, I think they could take the second spot for the East, and you could just knock it down for me. I like Ohio to win the full MAC though.
I like that right there. Now let's get into. Usually we do two selected games that have a line out on them to cap some, to give out some picks right here on the Boss and the Saw Show. But this year, I mean this episode. I'm sorry, this episode. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna give you my best pick, and I just have y'all give y'all best pick. It's only a few games with a line right here, but I'm really liking Arizona State by 25 over Kent State. It's going to be an easy blowout right here. Be the first time for Arizona State to let their offense let loose a little bit and score some points because they're definitely going to kill them on defense. They'll probably score a touchdown or two on defense against Kent State in that matchup. So I'm liking Arizona State minus the points. How about you, Big Ragu?
On that particular game, the Arizona State
No,
game.
what is your best look for
Oh,
the MAC
oh,
in week
er,
one?
week one. Okay, week one. Let's see. I'm looking at this Toledo, Kentucky game, and like Wham was talking about, I hope I'm not stealing anybody's thunder here, but I really like an overlook on that Toledo Kentucky game because I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. I think it's going to be early out of the gate for Kentucky, even though they were a defensive minded squad. And I think the numbers in the 50s, if I recall, when
59.
we
It's
looked
at
at it.
59 right now. Yeah.
59. Yeah, I think either one of these schools. I think Toledo's going to get 3 touchdowns, and I think Kentucky, the way Toledo plays defense, I think Kentucky's probably going to get 4 or 5 touchdowns to push it over without any question. So I'm looking probably maybe like 60, maybe low 60s to mid 60s in that game.
That's a nice look right there. Wham, what you got for the MAC?
I mean, for the most part, I haven't really looked at too much of the MAC, but I at one of the games. I believe it was Western Michigan for the Miami Ohio game. I'm circling in on that game for Western Michigan because they have a tough they have a tough road record. But the Miami Ohio game, it looks like that's geared in just around homecoming. I'm literally looking at them to cover that spread. I think that's going to be one of those things. If we could get a good line, if they don't, you know, beat the brakes off of Michigan State, or you know what I mean, or beat the brakes out, or really win convincingly by Syracuse, and the line isn't, pretty much exploded at that point. I think we may be able to get a good line out of the Miami Ohio game on the road because Miami Ohio, I'm not feeling real high on them, but I feel like they're going to have one of those kind of like subductive years that you don't know how to get them. You may be able to get a pretty good line on them on homecoming week. So it's really far fetched. You know what I mean? Holla at me back when it gets there. Don't talk to me right now about it. But DJ Big Boss asked me a question. I really feel like that's probably one of the things that I'm gonna be looking for. I'm gonna write it in my notes, and if that comes to pass, that is something that's reasonable. I'm definitely gonna be on Western Michigan at that point, and probably the over as well.
There it is right there. You heard it first right here on the Boss and the Saw Show. Now, we gave y'all information about the conference, players, stats, you name it, matchups, schedules, and also we broke it down and gave y'all who we like in the east side of the division. And with a cherry on top, we gave you a nice couple picks right there. Like I said, I'm on Arizona State to beat the brakes off of Kent State. Big Ragu, he's over there on the over in the what game was that? Big Ragu,
Toledo,
Toledo,
Kentucky.
Kentucky game, and my man Whams looking further down the line at the Western Michigan game for homecoming. So
And, And just to cover back on that, I'm sorry to cut you off, boss. And the Central Michigan Chippewas, we're looking for them to have a down year. They play New Mexico in the middle of the season. That might be a win for them. They might put that one in the middle of the season for a reason. I think they might want that to be a W. So look out for that. Make sure y'all bookmark that one
There
too.
it is, there right here on the Boss and the Sauce Show. Stay tuned, subscribe, tell a friend, hit the notification, comment, because we comment back. And shout out to all the people that already commented on all our shows, all of our thousands of views that we got on all these different videos we put out there. We appreciate everybody's support, but we steadily building in the market. We got 2 more subscribers away from 200. Please subscribe to Who-Bangin Sports to get the best from the Boss and the Sauce Show, Wham Talk, and more coming in this season and lasting forever, y'all. That's all I got to say. Any last words for the people for y'all?
One last word for everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you, Wham. And guess what, BJ? What about Wham? Wham, what you got to say, buddy?
Bro, you already know, man. DJ, man, I appreciate y'all. Love everything. Love you guys for subscribing. Definitely, I know you guys are subscribing because you heard my man DJ Big Boss, BigRagoo is in the house. Don't forget Big Boss in the sauce. We in here, man. Let's get this
Hey,
money.
but you forgot the secret password to the Boss and the Sauce Show.
Oh no, I see you
And
at the
I
window.
see
You
you
don't
at the
gotta you
window.
ain't gotta see me around.
See you
No,
at
I
the
see you
window,
there.
baby.
We see all y'all at the window.
Peace.
Peace.